Free Shedeur, yo. Shedeur Sanders is starting to do what Shedeur Sanders does, which is make some noise. That's what you got to want out of Cleveland. He's in the NFL. Of course he thinks he's good. Every guy in the NFL thinks he should be a starter. The question becomes, I got to tell you, Joe Flacco, my ass. Joe Flacco looks two things. One, 162 years old. If it was possible for him to look worse than he did last year with the Colts, he does. Second, man, he looks like he don't give a rat's. He's out there like, yeah. I mean to tell you, in an era where quarterbacks are dynamic, in an era where quarterbacks are rock and rolling, and by the way, this show is presented to you by Prize Picks, I got to tell you, Joe Flacco looks like me playing quarterback, but I will always bring the juice. You may not like it. You may hate me, love me, whatever, but I'm going to bring the damn juice. I got two words for you, Joe Flacco. Retire now. I mean, if you don't care, then I don't care. I mean, that's it. That's it. I'm screaming, yelling, whatever. I'm watching him throw lollipops to the other team. But more than that, I'm watching no juice. And if I'm going to live in Cleveland, and the Cleveland Browns have such an amazing fan base. You know, every bar around your town, wherever your town is or my town, well, every city has a bar called the Brown Backers. The Browns backers fill up a bar in every town. Hell, Bloomington, Indiana had a Browns backers. We didn't even know what college or pro football was. But hey, you go to Yogi's, 1990, 91, hey man, you got the Browns backers, and they're loud and they're proud, and this team's got no juice. This team sucks, so the point is, free Shedeur. Let him play. What are you going to do, bring Dylan Gabriel out there? Dylan Gabriel is in the worst spot he could possibly be in. I want you to think about this. He's not apparently good enough to beat out, not apparently not good enough to beat out Joe Flacco, but he's got a guy who's the most popular guy in town breathing down his neck. Here's what Flacco did. Nothing. Zero. Zip. He threw under 50%. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Shedeur Sanders is starting to do what Shedeur Sanders does, which is make some noise. Cleveland Browns third-string quarterback. Let's read it right here from Tony Grasso's article on ESPN Cleveland. Third-string quarterback Shedeur Sanders has been far from the spotlight so far in his rookie season, and it's a place he's not accustomed to occupying, even though he hasn't stepped foot on the field yet. Sanders making headlines, stepping in front of microphones. This week he said in the Browns locker room that he could do better than what he currently sees on NFL fields during NFL games. All right. Here's Sanders taking a shot at quarterback play. Let's hear Sanders talking.
That's not nothing, in my place to answer. That's nothing I can't answer. Not answer, but I know for sure I'm not. I know if you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that.
Yeah, that sounds like a 10-year-old. Come on, Shedeur. You sound like a 10-year-old, not an NFL quarterback. Well, I know on that travel team, I know I'm better than Bobby Davis. No, shush. No, be the adult. People love you. Say it better. Say it smarter. Don't say it like a sheepish little child. Couple things. You ain't watching much football. I guarantee it. You're playing. So on Sundays, you're playing. Now, maybe he was talking about his own quarterback, and I got to tell you, I think I can throw it better than Flacco. What's his name? Joe? Elite? Whatever? Sucks. Sucked last year. A couple years ago, pretty good. Resurrected Cleveland. And I don't know if you saw this, but when Cleveland got resurrected, it's fun. No, you got to free Shedeur. You got to. Here's ESPN Cleveland, Tony Grasso, on Shedeur not being in the limelight.
I don't begrudge any player saying what's on his mind. He didn't approach them. Justin approached him. But you got to be mindful of what you say. And I think the one quote that, from what I see around the league, I could do better.
Do you think it was directed as his teammates or no?
I don't think that.
Malice? No
malice.
But
it could come just like when Dylan Gabriel said, I'm a competitor, not an entertainer. Everyone assumed he was talking about Shedeur.
Yeah.
The same thing, you could assume
Yes.
this. Shedeur can't help himself, right? He's been out of the limelight. He's hurting. And this is what he's best at giving interviews.
You know, it's funny. You see it that way. I see it as I think he really does think he's better than half the quarterbacks in this league.
He probably
and
does.
I like that.
He probably
I
does.
like that a lot.
You know, every meathead, every single meathead radio host, I like that. I like that a lot. That's almost like I got a pad of paper right here in front of me. It's blank right now. But if I were going to put down meathead radio hosts, I like that he thinks he's good. Well, no kidding. He's in the NFL. Of course he thinks he's good. Every guy in the NFL thinks he should be a starter. Every guy in Major League Baseball thinks he should be a starter and could hit 400. Every guy in the NBA thinks he should be a starter. The question becomes, should he say it? And my answer is yeah. Yeah, in this day and age, you kind of sort of, it's accepted. It's accepted that athletes say things like that. It didn't used to be that way, and in some cases it isn't that way. But when you look around the world today, the world of sports, let's just keep it to sports, brash athletes sell. If you really go back to what Shedeur Sanders has done as a quarterback in terms of actual winning, it's not all that impressive. But if you put it in context, meaning he took with his dad and Travis Hunter and others, Colorado from the toilet to, 13-12 in 2 years, that's pretty good. But if you take it in the bigger context of college football, like what Cignetti's done at Indiana, it ain't that great. So why are we paying attention to Shedeur Sanders? Well, because of that kind of stuff. He's brash, he talks, he's got the posse, he's got the ability to irritate, he's got the ability to make people engage with him. And frankly, deep down, he seems like a really good kid. Actually, externally, he seems like a really good kid. That's another meathead thing. Oh, deep down, he seems like a good kid. No, he's a good kid. He seems like a great kid, actually. But the truth of the matter is, you got nothing going in Cleveland. And generally, I go to this. If you keep playing that quarterback, Flacco, you ain't got nothing going anywhere. I'm not saying it's the same because it never is. One guy's a first-round pick. The other guy, what was Dylan Gabriel, third-round pick? But the Giants got a hell of a boost yesterday from Jackson Dart. And that's the idea of benching an older guy that we know what he is. He isn't what he was, but we still think he's got moxie and he could be the next whomever. Jackson Dart ran it up the middle. Jackson Dart got the hot mom. Jackson Dart, all of a sudden, it's one game in. And you know what I always tell you about one game? Hey, guys usually play well one game. But that's what you got to want out of Cleveland. Because right now, it's terrible. Defense pretty good. But Joe Flacco sucks. And I watched enough yesterday to go, wow. And he doesn't care. One thing you're going to get for damn sure out of Shedeur Sanders, he's going to give you some flash, some flair, some care. Now, I don't know about Dylan Gabriel. They seem like, 180-degree different personalities. But if he's even close talking about Sanders to being an NFL quarterback, I got to think about it. I got to think very strong about it. You go 1-4, 1-5, what are you doing? All right. This episode, as I said earlier, is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is also the best way to get in on the action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. That's right. Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players goes down, leaves the game in the first half, doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Download the Prize Pick app. It's really simple. Use code DAKICH. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DAK, Dakich, ICH, to get 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize pick. It's good to be right. All right, the United States made a hella comeback yesterday. It's like the guy that always can come in the game down 20, and he'll get you 10. You start him, he's going to turn it over, get 3 fouls, and you got to sit his ass back on the bench. But the United States, they came out strong. Yeah. The United States didn't quite have enough. And I'm going to tell you why here in a minute. Let me set the scene. Europe's grabbed a 3-1 lead after a Friday morning's foursomes for ending the day with a 5.5 to 2.5. There was a stretch about a half hour or so on Saturday morning's foursome where red dominated the leaderboard, but the Europeans made every putt, played aggressively, and snatched an 8.5 to 3.5 lead after the opening 3 sessions. It wasn't ridiculous or even bold to say the 2025 Ryder Cup was officially over before a single shot was hit in Saturday afternoon's 4-ball. Lifeless USA team. Europeans were feeding off the frustrated American crowd. And while the U.S. singles on Sunday brought some serious drama and life into the American side, the Euros 11.5, 4.5 advantage headed into the final day was too much. Americans now have lost 9 of the last 12. Going to have to sit on the horrible taste until 2027. Outmore Manor in Ireland, which is the nicest, best manicured course in America. Just saying. Calling the 2025 Ryder Cup a disaster for the Americans would be disrespectful to the word disaster. This is Mark Harris of Outkick, given how poorly things unfolded for the red, white, and blue over the course of the first 2 days. All right, let me give you a little bit of what I think. Number one, if you ever want to know what being on the right side of the media means, Keegan Bradley is on the right side of the media. Arguably, he screwed up pairings. He screwed up the course. I don't know what else you got to do. Like, what do you do as the Ryder Cup captain? You set the course up. He admitted, I didn't set that up very good. You set the pairings. He played, Harrison English and Morikawa, which would have been the worst pairing of the 135 possible pairings. I don't know, something like that. And he did it twice. No, he was the worst captain there is. And it seems like a nice guy, Captain USA, and I'm going to get into why the Americans always lose. You ever watch softball on ESPN? I do. The lady Meg Obranowitz was promoted somehow. I don't even know. But she went with all these young little girls for her broadcast, all these blonde-haired girls. And it struck me, because we watch softball in our house, Lee's background. It struck me. Here's the deal. They don't talk about the game. They talk about feelings and emotions and who's fired up. It hit me watching the United States team. That's all you hear out of these guys. All you hear about is, he's a great leader in our team room. Who gives a rat's ass? No, he's really good at firing the crowd up. Who gives a rat's ass? When you hear Luke Donald and the European side, you know what you hear? We play for people that came before us. I want to make sure this is the best week of these guys' year. I want to make sure they remember this. Luke Donald did stuff that I never even thought of doing. He changed the sheets in the hotel to more comfortable. He saw that some of the rooms had a little opening under the door where light could get in. He fixed it. He did a lot of little things, but he made damn sure that his players had the best week of their lives. All the while, I'm seeing Americans talk about, Scotty Scheffler is so great in our team room. Gives a shit. See, one is superficial. The American version of it is very superficial. The European version of it is deep. It's got roots. It grows because the next group wants to be a part of the legacy of the previous group, and that's what Luke Donald does. Our guy, Keegan Bradley, we're going to kick their ass. He's really good. We're going to do this damn way. He's really good he's really good in the team room. Don't they have anybody anywhere on the United States team that understands actual coaching? Like Luke Donald has been the number one player in the world. He's won tournaments all over the world. And now he's like captain forever of the European Ryder Cup. Seriously, listen to what Americans say. I mean, listen to what Keegan Bradley said. And Keegan Bradley is 1,000% on the right side of the media, and they're going to make him into the Ryder Cup captain next time because, you know what? He's out for, I don't know, whatever. But the truth of the matter is he didn't know his ass from third base. And it was so stark going back and listening to what Bradley had to say and what Luke Donald had to say. It was unbelievable. Like Aaron, our boss here, played golf in college. So he'll understand that there's a camaraderie to golf. This is true. I'm playing in a Ryder Cup here at our country club, right? Every country club has it. And I looked at who's on my team and like, oh, man, I want to play with him. That's no fun playing with him. That guy, oh, yeah, we'll win everything if I played with him because he's, whatever. But I'm just saying, you got to understand that, but you also got to understand this has to be something deeper. We're worried about who fires up the crowd. What? The Europeans are worried about, that's my brother over there. That's my guy. I ain't letting him down. We're worried about who can do this, whatever this is, from Justin Thomas, this little bullshit thing. Hi, listen, I want to hear you. What? See, apparently Michael Jordan plays golf with Thomas. Michael Jordan needs to tell Thomas, put him against the wall and say, no, you're going to keep losing if you keep acting like little pussies. You got to have some man about you. Europeans, they're singing, they're trolling Donald Trump. You could tell. But Americans, no. And of course we had the dumbass American caddy controversy. We always do. Caddies become idiots. But it is amazing. It is amazing. The cohesion isn't because these guys play only in Europe and they're so close. These guys are American citizens. The cohesion comes, and it's so stark, and no one's going to listen to me. The cohesion comes because the captain of the European team makes it so. Don't even try it. Well, 28-3, I was at that. Yeah, great. All right. But anyway, I fell for it. Last thing, I did. I fell for it. I fell for the Captain America. I fell for the nonsense. I did. I fell for Keegan Bradley. Yay. And then Ryan Burr came on my show in Indy, and he's like, hey, Dan, dumbest thing in the world is the Americans being favored in this. They suck. He's like, really? He goes, oh, yeah. Go player for player. Here's what Americans had to say. They made more putts. Luck was on their side. Oh, okay. All right. Here's what John Rahm had to say about Luke Donald. The level of professionalism he's shown the last 4 years, his attention to detail, his communication skills. No, it's unbelievable. It really is. I feel like the power of this, the power of the group, who knows what it is, that ability to lock in, the ability to just want it a little bit more. Is that the answer to your question, Justin Rose said? I don't know. Other than the badge and the boys, honestly, that's all that matters. The badge and the boys. Us was, who's going to fire up the crowd? Who's going to go? Americans. I told you before, and I'll tell you again. The Americans are unlikable. Unlikable. They don't even know how to. They don't know how. It's like Charles Barkley told me about Tiger Woods. Has no idea how to have fun. Has no idea. None. Zero zip. Sad. But, hey, that's where we are. I hate to say this. I didn't bet it. Kind of found myself rooting for the Europeans. I hate that, too, because I am Captain America. I get the crowd pumped up. So stupid. Enjoying the show? I know you are. Make sure you head on over to youtube.com/@ the @side. Don't @ me with Dan Dakich to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you'll never miss any of our great content. All right. Here's the deal. James, there it is. Somebody called me an Uncle Fester looking mother. What? That's coming, though. When these eyes get really dark, That's an energetic man right there. Anywho, let's discuss James Franklin. See, Keegan Bradley gets the, well, you know, he didn't make a putt. Why are you blaming Bradley? He didn't drive a ball. He didn't make a putt. He didn't miss a putt. James Franklin didn't punt a ball, didn't throw a pass, didn't block, didn't run. But James Franklin catches all kind of shit when he loses. Tell me why. Tell me why. He does. He catches hell. Keegan Bradley's like, well, we want Keegan back next year. Wait a second. He screwed up the course, and he screwed up pairings, and we want him back because he's on the right side of the media. James Franklin is on the wrong side of the media. Somewhat an unlikable guy, kind of dorky, but damn. So here's the headline. James Franklin fumbles another big-time matchup. What? How's that James Franklin fumbled it? I don't know. He got his team into a match. See, James Franklin fumbles it, but Keegan Bradley didn't make a putt. I don't get it. Now, here's the deal. People have seen this. Yes, number 3, Penn State lost to number 6, Oregon. All right, I get it. Here's how bad, and this is true, James Franklin teams have been against good teams. 1-15 versus top 5 opponents. 4-21 against top 10 opponents. 15-30 against top 25 opponents. 4-17 against Ohio State and Michigan. All right, I see what's right here, but why is one guy on one side and this guy always on the other? Well, I think, since that was pretty good TV right there, well, I think, I don't really know. Since 2016, listen to this. Here are James Franklin wins versus top 10 teams. 2023 Utah Rose Bowl. Utah's quarterback Cam Rising got hurt. 2024, now this was a big game. Come on. Boise State, college football playoff. That's it. That's the list. But I will say this. I will say to you Penn State fans, be careful what you wish for. Be careful. Franklin has, well, he's elevated Penn State back from all the misery. Remember, Bill O'Brien got the hell out of there as fast as he could. Now he's wallowing at Boston College. Be careful what you wish for. Urban Meyer is not walking through that door. Nick Saban is not coming back. Just be careful before you, quote, pull the plug on James Franklin. Hey, do you remember? The big sexy's back. Remember big old Cheryl Reeves? The angry gal, didn't like Caitlin Clark, couldn't put her on her Olympic team, always up to no good, to quote the great Ice Cube about Eazy-E in a diss track called No Vaseline, one of the great diss tracks of all time. That's right, I know diss tracks. Yeah, I do. I know diss tracks, and No Vaseline is the best ever. Don't mess with Ice Cube. All right, so she was the one that played a role, didn't want Caitlin Clark on. She did all that stupid stuff more than one woman. Okay. Well, she got ejected the other day from a playoff game and exploded. I mean, the big sexy, she exploded postgame on the league and the refs, complaining about how physical that game was. And after her team got their ass beat 84-76 to go down 2-1 in the series to the Mercury, calling it effing malpractice. The big sexy's got a potty mouth. Yeah. And said the refs were effing awful. You go, big sexy. All right. In a manner with which befits Rory McIlroy at Bethpage Black, see what the big sexy has to say here to fans upon getting that ass booted. Here she is. I would have to respectfully say, no chance, lady. She's dropping FUs on him. I said, lady, if that's a literal, is that a question? I wouldn't do it. But that's a different story. Anyway, the big sexy went out like the heel in a WWE match. And good for the big sexy. Nobody, and I mean this in all sincerity, outside of WNBA folk, knew, heard of, cared about the big sexy Cheryl Reeves. How many times can I say big sexy? It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Take a drink every time I do. See how that works out for you. I just like the nickname. I think it's perfect. Anyway, here's what she had to say post-game, where she pretty much, well, she got herself suspended for the next game.
And we talked about how dangerous it can be. You're hearing it from the other series. You're hearing other coaches. You're hearing Becky talk about when you let the physicality happen, people get hurt. There's fights. And this is the look that our league wants for some reason. We were trying to play through it. We tried to make excuses. One of the best players in the league shot 0 free throws. 0. And she had 5 fouls. 0 free throws. Got her shoulder pulled out and finished the game with her leg being taken out and probably has a fracture. And so if this is what our league wants, okay. But I want to call for a change of leadership at the league level when it comes to officiating. It's bad for the game. The officiating crew that we had tonight, for the leadership to deem those 3 people semifinals playoff worthy is fucking malpractice. I can take an L with the best of them. I don't think we should have to play through more than what they did. We got players, Masha's on the glass and gets fucking cracked. And there's no call. And all of them said, it wasn't my call. I don't know. I didn't have that. I didn't see it that way. They're fucking awful.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. I didn't hear you say jack squat when Caitlin Clark was getting beat up by the angry lesbian crowd. Now your team gets beat up a little bit, and the referees are bad leader, bad commissioner, bad head of officiating. You didn't say nothing when Dijon Carrington did her thing or that Kennedy Carter. You didn't say squat. Now all of a sudden you get your ass beat and you react like a little freaking pain in the ass, which we knew you were. You can't take an L. No, you got your ass beat. And now you're bitching, whining, and moaning. Get out of here with that crap. I can take an L. No, you can't. No, well, if Becky says it, Becky's like the patron saint, Becky Hammond. Come on. Look, I don't blame you for going off on the officials. I never do. But where were you? Where were you when, the sisters were kicking the crap out of Caitlin Clark? Where were you? You were like happy, right? You were in the little like big sexy cave going, see, it's more than just one woman. Sit your ass down and keep doing that, though, because it makes us actually talk about you. Now, where were you, lady? You loved it. You all loved it when Caitlin Clark was getting her ass beat. You all loved it, and you all said, well, it's always been a physical league. This is part of what we are. We play tough. We play physical. Now, your team gets your ass beat, and you're out here crying like a schoolgirl. Suck it, big sexy. That's enough. Quarterback beef, QB beef. You ready? Tua Tagovailoa responded to Cam Newton's criticism of his play, saying, this is stupid by Tua. Come on. Saying it's easy for people in the media to be critical of him, completely discounting the fact that Cam Newton won national championship, won an MVP, took, Carolina, look where they are now, to the Super Bowl. I don't know what to tell you. Cam wasn't shy, though, about firing back. Here's Tua addressing Cam, and then after that, I'll set up Cam addressing Tua.
I heard Cam Newton say it the other day.
Well, anybody can play quarterback in this league then. I mean, I want to see anybody on the streets come and play quarterback. I mean, Cam's doing his thing for sure, but I think it's easier to be able to hold a clicker and talk about it that way, or talk about what someone else is doing wrong when you're not going out and having to do the same as them, right? So I think it's easy to do that. I think anybody can do that. I don't think anybody can play quarterback.
Cam Newton could. Cam Newton did at an incredibly elite level. I mean, not anybody can host a show for 2 hours. But guys that, if, I don't know, Mad Dog Russo wants to criticize me on my show, I'd probably listen. Not anybody can talk on the air for 5 hours a day. But if legends want to criticize me, I'd listen. I mean, that's kind of simple. Maybe Tua doesn't know history. Maybe Tua sees Cam Newton in a weird hat. And maybe Cam Newton, hey, he went to Alabama. The other guy went to Auburn. Maybe there's something there. Who knows? Here's Cam Newton kind of, sort of, maybe firing back.
Floor is yours, Mr. Newton. Your thoughts?
Part of me wants to admit to say anybody can go 0-3. Anybody, can really look at the optics and say, hey, dog, but did a lotto. But this is where we have to understand, do I feel a certain type of way? Absolutely not. I've said what I said, and I'll stand on what I said. This Tua Tagovailoa that we have seen within the last 12 months is not something in someone that is indicative of what we've seen before. I use the reference as quiet Tua, Alabama Tua, Tua under Nick Saban, and everybody understands where I'm coming from. When I see the situation that has taken place in Miami, it's more Love Island drama than football. And in large part, I wouldn't say it's all on Tua, but it is a main ingredient.
I mean, it is. He's not wrong. It's a main ingredient when your quarterback hasn't been very good. When you have soft leadership, and I am. Tua seems to me to be a soft leader. And Mike McDaniels, whatever the hell his name is a soft leader. He was going to change the entire way football was coached. He was cool. He sounds like he's half cracked up. Oh, man, dying ain't such a bad thing. I mean, what? Football's played by tough men, coached by tough men. That's it. Whether it's a position coach, a coordinator, or the head coach. And when you're not tough, when the number one thing in your operation is not tough, ask Saban, ask Urban, ask whoever you want. Belichick, when he was serious about it. Ask anybody. Tomlin, that's coached football at a really high level for a long time. The first thing they are going to tell you, the first thing, is we got to have toughness in our operation. We can be flashy. We can run a damn spread offense and throw it around. But if you don't have toughness in your operation, you got squat. And when I say squat, I mean you got squat. Nothing. Zero. Zip. There is nothing interesting about your team. There is nothing hopeful about your team. You got to have the ability to punch the other guy in the mouth and keep punching. You got to have the ability to get punched in the mouth and keep battling. You just do. And they don't. That's the bigger issue. Isn't about whether the quarterback is right or Cam Newton is right. They just don't have that. I mean, pro football players have it, but the culture isn't it. Think about who wins in the NFL. I mean, damn. You can talk about Jim Harbaugh all you want, but he got real toughness into his operation. Now, they got spanked this week, but last undefeated team's 1972. Every coach worth a damn has real toughness in his operation. And if you don't, you got squat. Hey, you ever notice how in America today a man's death unites almost nobody? Seriously. And it provokes everybody. Our friend Eric Schmidt, I think he's congressman, senator, whatever. Man, I saw a thing by him where he went through every single shooting. Left, 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 left. Equate it with the left-leaning media, and you got no coverage. I mean, man, that's really ugly. My friend, Sam Ponder, She reshared a home video of Charlie Kirk's family. Nothing political, just a moment of humanity. But the response, vicious. Thousands of vicious comments. Honest to God, here's Sam Ponder.
The strange thing was, I didn't really even say much. I reposted a video of his family just because I thought it was so relatable to see this as a dad. You know, you forget when you watch people on TV sometimes, like, this is just a dad who is a husband and has these little kids. And so I reposted a video of their family, like, on vacation. And man, I immediately lost thousands of followers. And who cares? This is not about me. But it was more about seeing what's going on in our country right now, and got just vicious messages, which any of us who have worked on TV get all the time. I'm used to that. But it was the response to something that I thought we could all agree on. Man, it's sad when someone's murdered. I thought that was something that just the general public could agree on. I think it said a lot about where we are as a country, but I also think it says a lot about the algorithms that we're dealing with. Because, Kaylee, I saw so many people message me saying he was a racist, he was a bigot. And so I thought, oh, I didn't know that about him. Let me do a little research. And you know what I found? I found highly edited videos of short clips where you could make anyone sound terrible, all put together. These people, I almost don't blame the people who felt that way, because they are being lied to. Yeah. They are being tricked. They're not sitting and watching a long debate with Charlie Kirk. They're seeing what their algorithm gives them. I had people saying, I didn't see anybody mourning his death. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm seeing doctors, nurses, teachers, moms that were laughing about his death, his murder that we all saw. Those people weren't seeing it all. So that tells us we're seeing two different Americas, and a lot of it is because of the social media algorithm that we are all just chronically online addicted to, which is a real problem.
Boy, I agree with that. I do. I think we all saw that here at Outkick with YouTube. YouTube finally admitted through, I guess Google did, that people were given the boot. And we knew that here. I mean, I would be told, don't say certain things because it'll get us flagged. The algorithm won't come up. I'm sure it's still happening. I don't think anybody comes clean and well, here we go. We'll get rid of the whole operation. But Sam is absolutely right. People are being lied to. And I would argue people are probably being lied to on both sides. You know, it's interesting. My wife, conservative, my sister-in-law, liberal, they actually had a decent conversation a year or so ago at Christmas. Like, I want to know what you're watching, and I'll tell you what I'm watching. That was interesting to me because we get gaslit. I am going to stay on social media because of this job, but I'm done scrolling. No, I am. You know, I get too angry sometimes. I want to fix the world. That's me. I want to see something, say something crappy about it, and think that all of a sudden I'm going to fix the world. I don't know what's happening. The algorithms are the important thing. I was talking to Aaron, our boss, about it, and he started talking about it last week, I think it was, Aaron. He was talking about the algorithms, and, you know, I don't understand it. So I'm going to free my mind, and maybe the rest will follow. I don't know. When we come back, I got a lot to get to. Stock ups, stock down. I'm still a little pissed. Keegan Bradley had no idea what he was doing when you listen to him talk relative to Luke Donald. It's like one was Shakespeare and one was Seuss, which is actually Shakespearean. I mean, Keegan Bradley's not a fool. I'll talk about that more as well. I may make a video of that. I don't know. Be right back. Art. So I'm driving last night. I flew back from Syracuse. I get in my car. It was about midnight, and turn on Mad Dog Radio, get some reaction, and some big fat guy named Big Al. I don't care, man. I don't think Jackson Dart, is the answer. I played football. Oh, shut up. Jackson Dart did exactly what you're supposed to do when you come in for an aging veteran. It's what I want the Cleveland Browns to do with Shedeur Sanders. Give him a spark. Give him a nudge. Give him a noogie. Straighten this action out. What are you doing, Jackson Dart? You're doing good, Jackson Dart. Apparently he's got a hot mom, too, which makes it all better. But you could feel it. We were watching the Red Zone, and it felt like, I'm not every time, but they sure went there a lot. And even though I didn't watch the game from start to finish, I did watch the game Red Zone start to finish. And honest to God, even the folks that we were sitting with, like, looks like the Giants got some juice. Looks like the building, everything. It's got a little amped up. And that's what you're supposed to do. Look, water's going to find its level. I go back to Kyle Schwarber with the Cubs, started out hitting 350. I go, no, he's a 240 hitter, going to hit a ton of home runs, and that's what he is, maybe 230. Okay, water's going to find its level, but I don't know the level from Jackson Dart. He seems athletic. He seems bold. He seems tough. He seems perfectly fit mentally to be the quarterback in New York and not worry about all the stupid stuff from some Long Island douchebag or anybody else. No, he seems like the next Joe Willie. I don't know if that's going to be, but I think most people would hope he's the next Phil Simms, even if he's Phil Simms light. But he sure the hell looked the part to me. Now, you know what I say, first game, defenses will catch up to him, all that. But I think the dude's got moxie. That's why I say the Cleveland Browns should start Shedeur Sanders. That dude's got moxie. That dude's got oomph. I need some oomph this time of year when it looks like your team is drowning in lack of oomph. And certainly the Giants were drowning in a lack of oomph. They were. Let's be honest. Uninteresting. Now, interesting. All because of one guy. One guy, that guy, Jackson Dart. Virginia. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Florida State and Tommy Castellanos did a little bit of talking, little bit of yapping. Florida State lost to Virginia, and we had us an old-fashioned court storming with a Florida State player prone in the end zone, and I don't know how that kid got out of there. I honestly don't. We don't have it. We shouldn't have it. I mean, the kid got he got out, but you got to give Virginia credit. You know, Bronco Mendenhall is a hell of a coach, always has been, and Virginia, alike before Deion Sanders took over Colorado, had fallen to the depths of Division I Power 5 football. That's a hell of a win. I mean, this is a long time ago, but it appeared that maybe, just maybe, Florida State was going to be back to where it used to be under Bowden and even Jimbo Fisher. Good team, brash quarterback, brash guys, a lot of athletes. Oh, no, they didn't. I watched a lot of that game. Virginia just seemed like the better football team, which surprised me. It really did. I thought Florida State was back. But you can't buy into Tommy Castellanos other than the first week when he beat Alabama. By the way, Alabama, my God. Stock up, Alabama. Holy cow. Alabama went into Georgia and bust that ass, and Kirby Smart said, yeah, I don't lose any sleep over it. What's everybody else's record against Alabama? He's right. But everybody else's record against Alabama was against Nick Saban. It wasn't against Kyle or Keith or whatever the hell it is, DeBoer. No. That was a bad loss for Kirby Smart. He didn't have very many bad losses. Certainly get a chance, I would assume, down the road, play another big game. Speaking of big games, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. A lot of people are saying it's the most frustrating loss in the era of Brian Kelly. Could be. Maybe. But 2-point conversion, you're running up the – I don't know. Look, I always say this about coach. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt when you've won as much as Brian Kelly. But a lot of people are calling that play call on a 2-point conversion where they got stuffed. The worst call of the weekend. I don't know. Looked like the defense of Ole Miss just beat the crap out of the offensive line of LSU. But having said that, it is fun. Think about this. So this is what the SEC should be, all right? You're Ole Miss. You're not Alabama yet. You're not Georgia yet. You're not even LSU yet. Okay. But you lose a first-round quarterback. We just talked about him, Jackson Dart. And look what you're doing the next year. That's kind of fascinating, isn't it? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do as a program. So many people talk about the program today, this game. We're going to overreact. Everybody's supposed to go undefeated, particularly in the Big Ten and the SEC. But what you're really supposed to do is be damn good every year. And when somebody leaves, somebody's replacing them. That's when you know you got a program. Why do you think Alabama continued to win? Quarterback gone, new guy in. Greg McElroy gone, here comes A.J. McCarron. He's gone, here comes the next guy. It's just what you do when you're a program like that. I don't know. That win told me Lane Kiffin's got something rock and rolling, shaking and baking, because Jackson Dart, he ain't there no more. And that was a first-round pick. That wasn't like Jared Milroe, who was, what, a 6th, 7th, whatever round pick, 5th? That was a first-round pick that just had a hell of a game with the New York Giants, and your college team, Ole Miss, went and got a big win. It's pretty good. Pay attention to them. This may be one of those special teams, seems like. Stock down our guy, A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell came out of Texas with apparently first-round talent. And he fell in the draft like the third round. And, of course, Chris Ballard gave the media a lecture about character. It was BS that A.D. Mitchell is being described a certain way. I know people at Texas are like, he's a talented kid, but, oh, man, he's got great talent. But when you hear that, it's like things that make you go, Anyway, long story short, A.D. Mitchell struck again. See, the worst combination to be as an athlete, and maybe as a human being, is arrogant and ignorant. Arrogant and dumb. All right, let me explain this to you. He, by all accounts, is a very confident kid. And confidence becomes arrogance when you do stupid stuff and make excuses for it. Last year, in a fit of just utter stupidity, Shane Steichen had him catch a ball and then throw it. It ended up a pick six in a big moment, culture out of the playoffs. Mitchell, after the game, said, no, man, I made a really good pass. Defender just made a better play. Okay, that shows you're arrogant and stupid. But Mitchell strikes again. So yesterday, Mitchell does what I'll never understand football players doing. Toe tapping down the sideline, hell of a play, hell of a run after the catch. And instead of just taking the ball into the end zone, he's going to extend it, showboat, cross the line. Ball falls out of his hand before he gets to the end zone, runs out of the back of the end zone. Not a touchdown, a touchback. As soon as a referee goes like this, you're like, you got to be kidding me. So that negated my MVP. It's personal. That negated, remember I got MVP, I bet 3 bets. Jonathan Taylor MVP, Daniel Jones MVP, Daniel Jones MVP, parlayed with that kid Mendoza from IU, Fernando Mendoza, winning the Heisman. A.D. Mitchell then on a 70, 80-yard run for a touchdown by Jonathan Taylor gets caught holding. So A.D. Mitchell literally screwed a game up more than anybody not named a quarterback could possibly do. It was unbelievable. It was incredible how he screwed that up. Like, you couldn't try to screw that up. So now Colts fans want him gone. No, I'm not cutting him, but I'm not trusting him either. It's going to be a minute before I trust him. Now, problem you had yesterday, Alec Pierce was out. And you had to play somebody, and Mitchell played, and good enough to get you fired. James Franklin, we chronicled James Franklin and all that James Franklin has lost against good teams. But I'm going to say this. Be careful what you wish for, Penn State. Be careful. James Franklin, here's what you do in coaching. If you're really good every year, eventually you break through. That was always our thing at Indiana when we were rolling. Just every year, last week of the season in basketball, play for the Big Ten title. You're going to lose if you're going to win lots. And that's what Franklin sort of kind of does. Be careful. His record, we read it already, abysmal. His personality, hard, 1-15 versus top 5, 4-21 versus top 10, 15-30 versus top 25, 4-17 versus Ohio State and Michigan. It is what it is. But damn, tough one last night. Sam Pittman, you had no chance. Now, I'm watching these slick guys in the SEC, and that's a nice man. That's a big old man that loves his hogs, woo pig sue. He's an Arkansas guy, all that kind of stuff. But he got fired the other day. And of all things, Bobby Petrino. Remember Bobby Petrino? A lot of baggage with Bobby Petrino. Left Louisville in the middle, left the Atlanta Falcons in the middle. Of course, the motorcycle wreck with some booster girl or something like that, involved him getting in a neck brace and becoming kind of a national disgrace. I got to tell you, Bobby Petrino is now the head coach at Arkansas, and he wants the job. All you got to do is win. Hell, I was an interim coach. You got to win. But Sam Pittman seems like a really good dude. And a lot of people across the country, certainly in the SEC that understand football, are begging Sam Pittman to come be their line coach, particularly LSU. Hey, take the buyout, Sammy. Do the Ed Orgeron. Wait, you're going to pay me how much? Get the hell out of here? Where who? Write the check, and which door do I get the hell out of? Yeah. Man, the Mets. Nick, the Mets. Nick Sia, the Mets. The Mets. The Mets at one point had the best record in the National League, and they missed the playoffs. $350 million in salary. How about that? What? How about that? You don't make the playoffs? There's never been more teams in the playoffs. There's never been a bigger discrepancy between the rich and the poor. See the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you don't make the playoffs. The Mets? Well, you know what? Couple of things. Number one, you got what you deserve. I don't know why. I've loved Juan Soto. I'm a big Juan Soto fan. But I don't know why. I watched the Mets a few times this year, and I'm like, I don't like it. Nah, I didn't like you anymore, Juan Soto. I don't know why. I saw you not hustle a couple times. Ball went over your head. Guys are crying in New York. There you go, crying shame. Reds got in even though they lost. And the Mets, well, you did. Not amazing, Mets. Wow, crying Mets. You know, you got to love the Washington Post, don't you? Washington Post spells it out for you very simple. Cubs are in the playoffs. They begin at Tuesday night. Yankees and Red Sox play. I love playoff baseball. You're probably going to hear on this show too much about playoff baseball, but that's all right. We're not mad about that. One of the things that you got to understand about playoff baseball is amazing disgrace. The Dark Knight rises. Look at these guys. Yeah. 340 million Mets left red face as late loss Caps collapse puts Cincy in the playoffs. Terry Francona's done a great job. He has. Terry Francona has the Reds in the playoffs, and the Mets, it's a crying shame. Anyway, I got one more stock down. You lids out there from Long Island douchebags. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Here's the deal. You acted like idiots. You acted like fools. You embarrassed yourselves. I ain't mad at anybody that tells you ought to go F yourself. Hell, I'm not mad at the big sexy Cheryl Reeves telling fans to go F herself. I'm never mad when an athlete does that. Should you? Probably not. What are you going to do? But anyway, you lids out there in Long Island acted like complete jackass. And here's the bigger, you're not funny. Like, you got to be funny. The United States, we're funny people. We're humorous. Nothing funny, vicious, mean. I do love the Ryder Cup champion, European reaction, singing songs on the bus, trolling Donald Trump, who said, yep, I'm watching. I love it. Seemed like a bunch of really good dudes. You Long Island guys, I know exactly who you are. Loud and stupid. Now, I've seen you my whole life. Loud and stupid. No different than Philly guy. Philly guy's the worst. Philly guy's like, hey, get away. It's not easy being loud and stupid. Now, you got to go home. You got nothing else in your life. Hey, man, we're going to get up and pay Beth Page. Yeah, shut up. Beth Page, my ass. Everybody told me about Beth Page. Yeah, Wolf Run was harder than Beth Page. We'll be right back. A-Dubs, one of the OGs of the show. Allison Williams joins next.
Football's finally back, so's the hard-hitting
reporter, sideline or otherwise, in football. NFL sideline reporter, our friend Allison Williams at AllisonW_sports. I saw that Ben Johnson interview, and I don't know how to say that lady's name.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. You know, you were with me when Izzo and guys are yelling, SID's yelling at me at Louisville 100 years ago. I don't know. What's the most confrontational a coach has been? What'd you think of all that?
Well, I think you have a rookie head coach who's still navigating the emotions of having to do these interviews in games, in difficult situations when your team isn't playing well, and it's the last thing you want to do. You would hope at like the NFL level, they're going to be a little more acclimated to that. But I think you saw just Ben Johnson that was in the mood to say what he wanted to say, was probably feeling a little defensive about the way his team played. It was awkward. I don't think she probably didn't feel good about it, but I don't think it was like necessarily rude of him. It just felt very awkward, and it felt like a coach who wanted to say what he wanted to say and be on his way. And it wasn't a good look for him, but I get it. Like how many times have we talked about that, Dakich, where like they're difficult spots to be in when a team is struggling and you have to talk to these guys in these moments. Even if he's like already had the halftime to cool down, you still kind of don't know what you're going to get. You really have to be cognizant of how you word questions, of any adjectives you use, of like interjecting any of your opinion. And not that she did. I mean, she was just asking if he changes something. And then he's like, well, what do you? And it's just, yeah, they can be awkward, but like that's part of it. So it happens.
Is there a big difference between doing that interview in college and in the NFL? And is there a difference in doing that interview, or what is the biggest difference in doing that interview with a coach that's winning and a coach that's losing? Because don't you in the NFL have to interview both?
Yeah. So what I've been doing every game so far in the NFL is off camera. So just a walk and talk, couple questions with them as they're making their way off of or back onto the field. And I think in some ways that helps, because then it feels more just like a person having a conversation with you. There's no like gotcha or anything like that. It's just, and my questions even change in those moments too, because I really just want to kind of see where his head is at and like what he's thinking, versus when you're presenting a question on air, you just, I don't know, I tend to phrase it more like specifically a lot of times, or try to get him a certain direction if there's something the broadcast has really been honing in on. So mine have all been off camera at the half, which I think, again, there's pros and cons too. Sometimes the camera provides a little accountability and they'll go a little more in depth. And like if you're just walking and talking with them, they can answer as quickly as they want to run off. And it's up to you to kind of figure out if you can use it or not. But I do think it, like from a conversational standpoint and a comfortability standpoint, it helps. I haven't noticed a huge difference with college versus NFL guys. I think just in general, covering the NFL, it's easier to talk to guys just because they're older and they're more mature, like on the player side, and they know it's part of the deal. And I think I think college coaches get that as well for the most part now. Maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't like that. When I started in the business, it was a lot of like, why am I doing this? And then as things evolved and monies went up, and it was like, hey, we're paying your salary, so you're going to do this. And we're going to have, access built into our contracts and that kind of stuff. It changed and it evolved. But I don't notice a huge difference between the pro and the college coaches. And that's probably because they're all pros, right?
Is there a difference between basketball and football coaches?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I think basketball coaches are more fiery. Like they're a little more in it, if that makes sense. Or maybe it's just the ones we had in the Big Ten that I'm thinking of. But shoot, I mean, half the coaches in the ACC wouldn't even talk to you at the half. I never had like a situation in football where they're like, absolutely not. We just will not talk to you. But Boeheim and Kay and those guys are like, no, get out of here. I want nothing to do with you. Talk to an assistant, right? And yeah, I do think basketball, I think they're a little more connected to the emotion and the flow of the game. And they're right there and they're standing up and they're like animated the whole time. And you can hear them on the court a little better than you can on the field. And it's just like a smaller, more confined emotional space. So yeah, I would say there's a little bit more emotion there, I think.
Yeah, it feels like it. Again, maybe it's the environment, as you said. It's in a more. Hey, our friend Sam Ponder, you stood up famously relative to vaccines. Sam Ponder was talking. She said she'd been a coward for too long, not speaking out. There is a balance. You suffered real world consequences for standing up. I respect her saying coward, but I don't know that it's cowardice. I don't know. Is it easier now? Let me go back. Is it easier now to speak out than it was back, 2020 when you were going through the deal? Or is it really no different and you really can't?
First of all, I agree with you. I think Sam Ponder's being really hard on herself when she comes to like looking back at how she handled things and like when she kept quiet. Because to answer your question, I think it's all what you have to lose, and I think some people have more to lose than others, and that's what's difficult, right? She's in a really high-profile job. She's making really good money, and she loves what she does. Why would anybody want to jeopardize that? But at some point, I think the reward and the sense of like obligation and of faith and all that outweighs the risk. And so it's just where you're at personally, I think, with that is the biggest thing, and what you can afford to lose. Like, look, I mean, I appreciate the compliments, but I had less to lose than a lot of other people who also stood up, who didn't get the attention and who were the sole providers for their families, right? Like, yeah, I lost my job and I lost a lot of money and I lost temporarily, thankfully, a profession I loved. But I had a husband who had a job that wasn't going to go anywhere, that could continue to put food on the table and a roof over our heads. And we didn't have to worry about not making the mortgage. Like, there were families who lost their jobs that literally had to worry about how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my family? That's courage. Like that's true courage. So, I think it really just depends on where the person is. And I do think in the wake of everything that happened to Charlie Kirk, more and more people are going to be, some of them are going to be scared to speak up because of that. But I think more will be emboldened too, because they realize how important it is. And they realize that what we're fighting for is so much bigger than ourselves. And the fundamental core qualities of this country, which is what I've said from the beginning, like that's what's really on the line here, right? Like the freedom of speech, the bodily autonomy and all of that, as that comes to be threatened, it's more important than ever to speak out against it, especially for those of us that have kids and want to make sure we pass on a country that we're proud of and that we grew up in, and that was safe to do that. So I do think things have shifted in this country where silence became compliance, and people don't want to comply with that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Back in the day, silence was complicit, and now people want to silence you for standing up against what we saw, you know, border, that kind of thing. Does the NFL, does your network, did they send out directives? Hey, look, this is a football production. We don't need politics. You know, is it that deep with broadcasts, that kind of thing?
No, not that I've experienced at all. And I think a lot of like the fear I had when I went down the path I did was like, am I going to be hireable? Like I kind of thought it was very well within the realm of possibility the NFL would be like, she's not going to work a game for us. Like, no, she's criticized us. She's stood for things that we don't necessarily align with. And like the way they handled COVID was certainly something I was critical of. No, I have not experienced that. We have a diverse set of political beliefs within our production meetings. People that I know feel very differently than I do politically. And that's great. Like that's what this country is about. But we find common ground. We don't, have to argue. We don't have to fight. We can come out and work together and put on a good show. And like, that's what I kind of, the first weekend I worked after Charlie Kirk was murdered, and I was in the Saints facility, and I looked at Kevin Kugler, our play-by-play guy, and I was like, gosh, the world could take so much away from sports. And it was kind of what Dan Lanning was touching on after the Oregon-Northwestern game. Like, there is something so special about sports where you have guys from every different background and socioeconomic class and race and religion and in completely different experiences of their lives. And they come together and they bond and they learn to fight for a common goal, and they learn to find how they can connect. And that's a really special and beautiful thing. And I think our country needs to realize that can happen on every stage and every level, in every classroom, in every home, in every community. We are so much more alike than we are different, and we are all humans, and we can all find a way to connect with one another. And so I'm really proud of the way, like, my company, Fox, has been wonderful. It is a diverse group of people who feel all different ways, and it is so much more of a non-issue than it was, I think, at ESPN.
You know, it's interesting. You said people that think politically, not that people talk about politics in production meeting. And I started thinking back when I was working with you, or I was working for Sam, or with Sam and Mike, I don't think anybody really ever discussed the political world. We discussed where are we going to eat. What the hell's going on? It's just, it's different. Is it? Let me ask you, is it different now?
Yeah, well, and what I was thinking of too, Dakich, is like back in the day, I hate saying that, but like, the political differences used to be a little like squibble on taxes or maybe like how to handle different social things, or okay, worst case, it was like immigration, right? It felt like our core American values though were shared. We just would disagree on the ways in which to go about executing them. And now it feels like there's such a deeper divide on real core moral issues. And that's where I think that the change has been. And that's what I felt too. And the other thing that's so interesting, you're right, we didn't talk about it because first of all, I was probably a Democrat then, which you didn't know one way or the other, right? And then also, I remember Scotty J, our favorite director of all time. We were working a football game years later after spending how much time on the Big Ten, beat. And he made a comment like about a guy that assumed he was one way politically and he was the other. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I actually never had any clue which way you leaned politically because who cared, right? It didn't matter. And it has come to matter now, but I do still think we can get back to a place, I hope, where we can at least agree on like the core moral principles of what it means to be free and what it means to be American and the important tenets of that. And if we can, argue about tax rates and all that, fine. Those are the more superficial issues. I hope the moral issues, the deeper issues, we can come to agreement on again.
Do you feel like, you're in the NFL. Do you feel politics in a stadium? That may be a weird, idiotic question. Do you feel it in college, or is there, in the NFL at all?
No, and I thought I would more because I think the media tells you that it is there more with like the end racism and like, oh, it's so woke. No, you don't. I don't see it. I don't notice it. It doesn't. No. You know what I see in stadiums? I see people praying. I see people pledging their allegiance to this beautiful flag every game and singing our national anthem in unison with hands on hearts and bowed heads. And I see people taking a knee before games. I see people taking a knee after games and praying. I see faith on display. I don't see politics on display.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think? I don't know if Penn State did it out of respect to Charlie Kirk, but here's what I have seen. I have seen like colleges in particular and cities kind of take up Charlie Kirk, speaking of faith, kind of taking his deal up. You think that lasts?
Does anything last? I don't know.
No.
I feel like everything, no, right? Like everything is just so profound in the moment. It's not, maybe this feels different. I know for me personally, it felt different. A lot of people I heard from, it felt different. Like, I think that this was mourned differently for a lot of different reasons, because it was so gruesome and so public and all that, but also because like, if you think about what they really killed him for, it was for having debate and discourse. And that's scary. I said that to my husband. I was like, he was literally killed for doing what every person in this country has a right to do and for carrying so many of the same beliefs that we have. And so that's what felt like, I think, really scary and like a personal attack. Like they weren't trying to, go on and kill a bunch of people. Like we see these mass horrible murders. This was like a specific targeted one to send a point. So will it last longer? Yes. But I think, unfortunately, we are in such a microwave society and we move on so quickly. I hope his impact can last. I hope people can consume his message and live his message a little bit more, which is such a beautiful one of like loving, first of all, serving the Lord, but second of all, like loving one another and talking to one another and engaging in human connection with one another, because that was his biggest thing was, when the conversation stops, the violence starts. And that's exactly how he died. So I do hope his message continues. But I think we live in such a microwave society that we are very quickly on to the next.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question, because it felt a little different to me. And again, in our society, we see the bullet hit Charlie Kirk. And if you see that, and I watched it one time and that was it, if you see that and you have any kind of humanity, you kind of, it's got to do a little something to you. I'm not sure what. Some people have gone the other way and been very critical and been mean and actually praising the killer. I mean, insane. But it's got to do something to you to see it that dramatically, A-Dubs, feels like anyway.
We are not designed as humans and as spiritual beings to see that. That is not something we should see. It's not. And I shared a post, I think, on my Instagram that, oh man, I wish I could paraphrase it better, because it really struck a chord with me about how, like, we live in this society where we have all this technology and we see that, and then somehow we like keep scrolling. Do you know what I mean? And like, we just keep going. That's not normal. Like, I'm saying I saw it once and I about lost it, and I put my phone down and I took a moment, and my son was with me, so I was trying not to have an emotional response and keep it together. And I'm like, this is horrible, and people are not designed. We are not meant to see this kind of stuff and then just go about our day and function and like go on to the next post. I mean, that's such a disconnect from like who we are as people. And I think on a spiritual level, I mean, you literally just saw another man lose his life and like his soul leave his body in the most gruesome way, and then like you're on to the next. That's not normal, and I think we need to like really kind of be protective almost of that part of ourselves that like should not be exposed to that kind of stuff, because that is something that you should never ever have to see. And it's horrible to think that people have lost their sense of humanity, that in any capacity they could celebrate that. Like, I don't care how much he said that you disagreed with. This was a law-abiding Christian man, father, son, husband, and you just saw him lose his life. And because you think that he, wants to take away your right to abortion, you're going to celebrate it. Like, that makes you really sick, actually. And that makes me concerned for your mental well-being, honestly, because there's no excuse for that.
Last thing before I let you go, Lee and I were talking yesterday about, well, at some point, actually, I'm thinking about, I told my daughter, I'm taking away all birth control, and Andrew, I'm taking away all condoms because I want to have grandkids, and let's go, right?
Stop wasting my time.
And my kids are like, Dad, that's a 180 from like ever. But you have young kids, and to what you just said, your kids, I don't think they're old enough to be scrolling all day. But do you have to you and your husband have to have a plan about how we're gonna? Because this isn't going away. This is not going away at all, right? You have a plan for how to handle that kind of stuff.
Yep, there's a guy whose name I'm not going to remember right now, and he did a great podcast on Joe Rogan. He's been he wrote a book about this, and he's been like on social media about it. And he kind of has 4 rules for handling like technology and cell phones and all that. Basically, it's like no cell phone until high school, no social media until 18, no phones in schools. Which the fact that they're even allowed is like outrageous.
Honest to God.
Outrageous. I mean, I can't trust my husband at dinner half the time with his phone, and you're going to put like a 12-year-old in class with a phone. Like, give me a break. And I forget the last one. But yes, they will not have access. They will not have a phone. They're just going to be that friend. I'm sorry. But that's how it's going to be in our home. And I love the idea too of, I forget who did this, but they had like a family cell phone in the kitchen. It can't leave the kitchen. So if your friends want to text you or call you, it's basically like making it a landline again, essentially, right? Like we grew up with, like you have to go in a public space to use the phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not allowed to have it in their bedroom. So that's the other one. You cannot have it in your bedroom at night, right? Because then they're just on it. You don't know. Yeah. So I do like the idea of that as well, like having a family phone, but it's got to be used in a public space. It doesn't go in your bedroom because it's just not healthy on so many levels for their undeveloped brains.
No, it's not healthy for my drunken, fat sausage brain. No, it's terrible, and I got to get rid of it. Always love, Wait, are we
going to, hold on, are we going to do this whole segment and you don't ask me one question about your Colts?
Well, the Colts are the greatest team. I'll ask you one question about the Colts, other than the fact that Indiana is the epicenter of all things football. Indiana football is the greatest team in the country. Yeah. Are you surprised, because so many people are, that Danny Dimes is playing as well as he did? Like, he got screwed yesterday. He had like an 80-yard touchdown, and the dummy A.D. Mitchell put the ball out. That kills. That man's the MVP if you get some of that. Are you surprised by that?
Yeah. Dakich, I had the game yesterday. I had the Rams-Colts game yesterday. So
I did not know that.
Okay.
I was watching it with a bunch of people.
I was shocked by Adonai Mitchell. That poor guy, talk about having a terrible game, like just a boneheaded game, because then he got JT's run called back with this stupid penalty.
Yes.
It was horrible.
Yes.
So they very well should have won that game, and they did not play well, and they still should have won that game. So that to me was really impressive. But the resurrection of Daniel Jones is awesome. And honestly, I just think it probably more than anything speaks to the dysfunction that he was dealing with in New York, because the talent is definitely there. Look, it's early in the season, but the talent's there. It's been awesome. I think you've got Steichen finally as a quarterback that like fits his system, and is really like a good match for him and for what he wants to do. And they were going up against a really good Rams defense too, right? So you knew it was going to be their biggest challenge of the year, especially without their right guard and all that. But yeah, I'm all in for Indiana Jones. I think what he's doing is awesome for you guys.
All right, but what would have happened if Steichen went Bob Knight? Back in the day, Coach Knight made two of our players take a separate plane home. He didn't want to look at him after a game. He's like, you got to go fly with the doctors. What if they made Adonai Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell, take a separate plane home? The world would have exploded, right?
I bet he would have been happy to. That guy, I'm telling you, Dakich, he couldn't look at his teammates. Like, they all were coming up and doing what they should. Like, hey, man, all right, we're going to need you. We're going to need you to make another play. He could not look at them, walked away from them, like, head down. Even in the huddle, the guy saw it from the booth. Even in the huddle on the field, he was, like, removed. Like, he was so ashamed and embarrassed and just, I think, absolutely like dejected and just totally embarrassed by what he did, and rightfully so. I mean, it's really unexcusable. But I bet he would be happy to take a different plane home, honestly.
Hey, Dubs, Coach Knight did that when he did it when I was a player, and two of my teammates, and I'm like, can I go with him? I don't want to sit on this damn plane with that maniac. I want to go over there, play cards with the doctors. Hey, exactly. Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
You got it. Thanks, bud. Thanks for having me.
That was fun. So much fun always with the great Allison Williams. She's awesome. She's one of the OGs. She's young, but you know what? She was our first guest ever. That's right. Brett McMurphy joins us next. He's been in the waiting room. I can't keep him waiting. What are we doing? We'll be right back.
Football's finally back. So's the
College Football Insider, longtime College Football Insider. Go follow him right now at Brett, BRETT_McMurphy. All right. I got to ask you, man, does Bobby Petrino, who has left a trail of basically shit I'm supposed to ask the guest the question, not interject my nonsense, but is he got a legit shot at this job?
Yeah, I mean, he does. The fact that they're allowing him to make staff changes, Petrino fired the defensive coordinator and a couple other assistants, since he was named interim coach. And Dan, you've done this a long time. This is the first time I really ever remember an athletic director in announcing the firing of a coach. Obviously, Sam Pittman gone at Arkansas, but in his statement saying not only who the interim coach is going to be, which everyone does, but then following up with Coach Petrino has told us about his desire to be the head coach, and he will be considered for that position. I've never really seen an AD come out and say that. It's been understood. Certainly, if an interim coach runs a table, does well, he'll have an opportunity. But to specifically say that, that kind of caught me off guard. Now, probably that's because of his history at Arkansas, and the first question would be, is he going to be considered? But Dan, I mean, you look at the schedule for Arkansas, and good luck, Bobby. But if he has success at Tennessee, A&M, Auburn, LSU, Texas, Missouri, 6 of the last 7 games are against teams that are currently ranked in the top 25. Absolutely, he'll have that opportunity. The issue is, when you get down in the weeds, the biggest donors, who do they want? Obviously Rhett Lashley's got ties to the state of Arkansas. There's obviously a contingent that would like to see Lashley at Arkansas. But then Petrino's got some people in his corner too. So this will be fascinating. And of course, anything involving college football, it will involve a lot of drama.
Does people always say this, you're inside the sport, I am not. Makes sense to me that big boosters now have a lot of control. Is that in fact true? I mean, do ADs, and in specifically, would the AD at Arkansas have to make damn sure that he keeps certain people happy and they would have influence on who they're hiring?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not just an Arkansas specific thing, but this is everywhere now. Schools are more desperate than ever to have revenue now that they're having to compensate the players and revenue share and all these different things. They've got to come up with different revenue streams. So there's only so much revenue streams you can get. So that you do have to rely on those big money donors. So if you've got a guy who's donating millions and millions or billions in some cases of dollars, and he says, I want Coach A and I don't want Coach B, yeah, you can hire Coach B. But if that guy doesn't win immediately, you're probably not going to have a job. And then there's also, some of these donors are this blunt that, look, if you don't hire Coach A, you're not getting another dime from me. And so that's a real consideration. And, some athletic departments live and die by the contribution of their donors. Other universities, that doesn't impact them. So yeah, Dan, and again, with Arkansas, I don't know specifically if that would happen, but certainly, yeah, every AD out there is listening to his biggest donors and, taking their suggestions, some more than others. Yeah. But you have to consider it, because if you've got somebody that's basically funding a large part of your program, you've got to keep those guys happy. I mean, that's just smart business sense.
UCLA on the surface seems like a great job. On the surface, it just California, a lot of athletes, right but it's really not, is it?
It's not. It's weird. I mean, like USC's got their tradition; they've got all that everything going on. But yeah, UCLA it just hasn't. It's like they're so similar to USC, yet they're so different. You see the shots of the Rose Bowl for their home games, and it's a scattering of 10 of their closest friends, and it just, they really haven't built up any momentum, and it's kind of been that way, at least recently. Chip Kelly was head coach there; he left. He had some issues, with commitment there and different things. And it's just not, you've experienced, SEC fandom and craziness, and, people make fun of that or whatever. But there are loyal fans within the SEC, within the Big Ten Midwest teams. You get out to UCLA, there just isn't that loyal, passionate following for the football program. So you're right. On the surface, you're in LA, all those good things, recruiting the state of California. But then you kind of look at you dig a little bit deeper, and yeah, it's there's currently 5 openings for next season, including Stanford, which Frank Wright is just coaching this season. He will not coach next season. They've already announced that. So there's 5 positions, and Stanford's a little unique because Andrew Luck's running that search. But I'd say of the 5, yeah, UCLA probably is the least desirable right now.
You got Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Stanford, Arkansas. I would, that's how I would look at it. This is a dumb question. I coached a long time, and I always say about firing coaches, be careful what you wish for. Are Penn State people, should they be careful what they wish for, or is James Franklin just lost? I don't know what to say about all that, because I know the level you're supposed to be at. They're there. Where's Penn State with James Franklin and all this?
Yeah, that's a tough situation, and you're right. Be careful what you wish for. there's a lot of examples where schools got rid of somebody, thought that they could do better, and then they didn't. It's frustrating, and Franklin feels that frustration. He experiences that frustration. You can tell. Last year at Big Ten Media Day, he got up and in his 15-minute monologue, he mentioned 3 times that at most schools, winning 10 games is a successful season. Well, that's not a successful season at Penn State. He addressed it head on after the loss to Oregon. He said, when we win here, it's the greatest thing ever. When we lose here, it's the worst thing ever. And he hears about those frustrations, his inability to beat top 5, top 10, top 20 teams, is historically bad. But on the flip side, he does have them in position to win these games and to succeed. They did get to the playoff last year. Certainly going to 12 teams helped there. They would appear again that they've got the talent to get to a playoff again this year. But he has won a Big Ten championship. But again, it's almost like, can he get over the hump? Can he win a national championship? Can he get to a national championship game? And that's what frustrates Penn State fans so much. I live in Tampa. It kind of reminds me of a little bit. Tony Dungy was here for a long time, very successful, but it's like Tampa Bay would get to a certain level in the playoffs and never could get to that next level. They bring in John Gruden. John Gruden basically breaks through that wall. They go and they win the Super Bowl for that one season. So I'm not saying Gruden's a better coach than Gundy. You may think that, you may not think that, but I'm just saying is it took someone else to get them to that next level. I'm not saying that's what Penn State needs to do. But yeah, it's frustrating to get that close, and then not be able to attain, a national championship, to get to a national title game. But again, you look at the flip side. You could be, you could be Nebraska. Going through coaches every 3 or 4 years.
Right.
You could be a program that's not even competitive. So I understand Penn State believes they're better than that, and they should succeed. But it's a tough call. And then the other thing, Dan, real quick, is I've heard this from a lot of coaches, a lot of athletic directors, especially now with social media and everything, how kind of the temperature gets turned up on everything, no matter what it is, good or bad. Because ADs, feel like you have a shelf life where you can only be at a school for a certain amount of time, and after that time, it's like, okay, I need to move on. The fan base is going to get tired of me. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to be pleased. And it's time to move on. I don't think that's the case at Penn State. But again, I think that's probably some of the factors that the Penn State faithful are thinking about, and also how in the world they lost to Oregon.
The Gruden thing is interesting. Do you think he is it seems like he wants to coach. Let's take that out. You think athletic directors around the country are going to take John Gruden seriously, interview him, get to a point where, search firms want Gruden in front of people? You think that's going to happen?
I do, Dan, because again, we were talking about Arkansas earlier. Let's go back in time. Would we have ever thought Bobby Petrino would have a chance to become the coach at Arkansas again? No, you would have took minus 1,000 and put your life savings on it. Look, there's 136 jobs. I think Gruden wants to coach at a power conference school. That cuts it down to 68 schools. Again, all it takes is one athletic director, one president that's willing to take a chance on him, a school that's not relevant, that needs a big publicity boost. And I think what helps Gruden is, despite what's in his past, I think the way that Colorado has elevated its program with Deion Sanders, the way that North Carolina has elevated their program with Bill Belichick. And when I say elevate, I mean promotionally, getting more tickets sold, getting more buzz about it and all that. I'm not saying necessarily it's automatically going to happen on the field. We'll find out if that happens or not long term. But just for that short initial burst, both schools, have got national attention that their schools had never, ever seen before. Certainly the same thing would happen for any school that hires John Gruden. The question is, who wants to take that chance? how desperate does that school have to be? But yeah, certainly I think he'll get an opportunity. The question is, if Gruden does not have a power conference opportunity, would he look to go to a group of 5 school that may be more open to taking a chance to become more relevant? That's a personal decision for him, but I do think there will be somebody out there that will take a flyer on John Gruden. Absolutely.
Do you think Belichick has been a positive for Gruden's hiring?
I don't think it's been a negative. I think, a lot, I don't think, look, Belichick and Gruden are two different coaches. Obviously, Belichick's had more success as an NFL coach than Gruden ever has. There's obviously the age difference. Belichick's got this, whether he likes it or not, he's got the storyline of the 24-year-old girlfriend, with him side by side, make that what you want. But no, I don't think it's hurt Gruden's chances at all. I would compare Gruden more to a Deion Sanders type of impact that he would have, kind of what Deion brought to Colorado, what Gruden would bring to wherever he went. And I think Gruden, this is not, I don't mean this negative towards Deion, but I don't think anyone out there would not think that Gruden is a much, much better coach than Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things Urban Meyer told me a long time ago is Deion did a pretty good job of hiring staff. This is in his first year.
Sure.
Gruden's done that forever. As you said, Super Bowl winning coach. Hell, I think he would elevate it immediately, and I agree with you. I think his personality is such that boosters would want to go. Hey, Brett, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Fernando Mendoza for Heisman, Indiana for national champion. That's where we're going today. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate you.
Hey, if you win all your games, they can't keep you out, right?
That's right. That's right. You can't go, what is it? What do they say? You can't go 6-0 unless you get to 5-0.
Right.
Let's go.
Can't wait for that Oregon game. That'll be a good one. Thanks, Dan.
2 weeks. Yeah, you are welcome. 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be really, really good. Interesting. Indiana didn't play well, didn't play great against Iowa, but what the hell? Sometimes you got to grind them out game. If you're going into Iowa City, Kinnick Stadium, and not grinding it out, you're out of your mind. All right, here's the deal. Let's go. Let's woke-a-dope it, shall we? Oh, boy. Is he actually back? What is he? I mean, what's that hat say? Oh, is that a Trump hat somebody put on him? God bless you. I saw him speaking the other day. Now the narrative is be nice to him because he's battling cancer. All the lies this guy has told, including being kicked out of elections way back for lying, I wonder. Next. Greatest eclipse ever. There it is. I'm making dog signs on the show. Next. Trump is not my effing president. He is, though. And now his name is on your body forever. That's a great scene right there. I know we don't like De Niro, but, what Ray Liotta we kind of like. Man, you put Trump's name on your ass or on your back or wherever the hell that is. Kind of sick. Hey, last thing. Let's go. One thing I don't understand is this. I see this guy, this Zohan Mamdani, wants to give $65 million of New York taxpayer money to gender-affirming care. $65 million. I was thinking about this the other day. Whatever happened to that U.S. aid thing where, every week we were pointing out where abuses and our money go? Whatever happened to that thing? I never really paid attention to where our money goes. Now I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of fascinated. And that U.S. aid was interesting. But I saw this Mamdani, who, by the way, is going to end up being the mayor of New York City. Eric Adams just dropped out. He's got an 83% chance to win. Hey, I think we're going to provide $65 million for funding gender affirming care. Really? What? Hey, look. All right, I can tell you how I can affirm my gender. Let me look down my trousers. What's down there? Hey, I'm a dude. Man, it's just a bigger example of the world is absolutely out of its mind. And we got to pay attention and keep paying attention. But here's the deal. There's a lot of things you could do with $65 million in a city like New York. How about fix a school? How about make schools safe? How about put somebody in charge of the entire public school system that's going to use $65 million to make at least some schools? I don't know if you can. Why can't we do that? Last thing. Speaking of New York, you embarrassed yourselves. I know, we're tough. You're not. Shut up. You're not tough. Yelling something and throwing something at Rory McIlroy's wife does not make your fat dumbass tough. It makes you stupid. See you tomorrow.